We're just waiting for one more to join.
And Chelsea, really quickly, it's a $2 million donation?
It's $2 million in Nashville. It is actually now $12 million across the country. She has been working towards some Baltimore organizations as well, and this morning has added an additional $2 million to the previously announced 10. So
awesome, thank you.
What she does, it's pretty great. So, but she figured Baltimore was also such a space of you know, growth for her in the beginning of her career that she didn't want to leave them off. So, okay. All right, so we will bring her in.
Hey guys. Hey everybody.
Hey everyone.
Hello. Hey.
So
Dr. Glover. I don't know. I know Bishop Dr. Glover. I don't know everybody else. There's David.
Hello.
Hey, David Paulson, the Tennessean.
That's me. Hi, how you doing?
How you doing? Kelly
Good.
Carter, how you doing?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Oh, good. Okay. Is this Travis?
Yeah. Yes, Travis. I'm with the AP.
Okay, great. Dylan?
Hi.
Hi, Dylan. Is it Brandy?
Yes.
I love the way you spell it, girl. I love the way you spell it. Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. Janae or Jana?
Jana.
Gina.
Jana, like Dana with a J.
Jana with a J. Okay, great. And Rosetta?
Yes.
Hi, how are you, Miss Perry? How you doing?
All right.
All right.
Mrs. Perry, do we want to start with you then and have you kick off the first question?
Did I say hello to Dr. Glover and Bishop? Hey, y'all.
Good. Hey.
Hello.
Hey,
Hello. Thank you. You look
Good.
great.
Good. Thank you.
So
All
Mrs.
right.
Perry, do you want to start? You can unmute your line there and ask your question.
You want me to ask the first question?
Yes, you're up.
Oh, okay. To Oprah, I know that you attended Tennessee State University, as I did many years after you did. And I'd like to know, how did you meet our great president?
Oh, Dr. Glover. Well, so this is how this all happened. I wanted to do something for the communities where I grew up and people who helped me to grow into who I am. And so when I thought about this whole giving back idea, I started with first and foremost, my own family, people in my immediate family who might be out of work, cousins, friends, helping them out, making sure that they had what they needed so that when they heard I was helping other people, they wouldn't be, oh, you helping other people, you didn't even help us. So I started my own family first, and then I worked my way through my hometowns, Nashville, Mississippi, Milwaukee, Chicago, and then this morning I realized, oh my gosh, I forgot Baltimore. But so I started out and I asked my brother there, half brother there, Tommy Walker. He's a young boy my father took in when he was 13 years old and is now like a son to my father and brother to me. Who are the churches who are on the ground doing the real work? And he said, you have to talk to Bishop Walker. And I was talking to Apple about, originally I had this idea of giving out computers to kids in low income parts of the city so that those kids could do virtual learning. And Apple, for whom I am in partnership with Apple said, oh, you should talk to Dr. Glenda Glover. Do you know Dr. Glenda Glover? And I said, I've heard about Dr. Glover. Isn't she at Tennessee State University? They said, yeah, how do you know about her? Well, because everybody knows about Dr. Glover, I said. So they said that Dr. Glover has done such, great work with getting kids, girls especially involved in coding and work. And so that's how that came to be. I said, well, I'm trying to figure out what I can do with a coalition of African-American pastors and who I can use to help me with all of that. And they said, Apple recommended Dr. Glover. That's how that happened. And so then I called Dr. Glover. Dr. Glover said, Bishop is on my board. Bishop is all like, you know, everybody's in the, everybody was already connected. So I felt like I was in good hands. So originally Bishop Walker gathered together a series of other ministers from, I don't know, how many other churches, Bishop?
There were 10 of us.
10.
Yes.
So there was Bishop Walker and 9 other pastors. And then we brought in Dr. Glover, and that's how this all happened. And the reason is because I wanted to go directly to the people. I didn't want to give, I had already given money to, I think, Second Harvest there in Nashville. And I thought that was a good thing. And I trusted that organization, had vetted that organization and thought, that's wonderful. But how do I make sure that money is going to get directly into the hands? So the bishop and Dr. Glover and the other pastors and I, we brainstormed. Originally, we thought, what about Target cards? And I thought, well, if you go to Target, you might want to be buying outfits. But what do we really want to do? And Bishop said from the beginning, the real need is feeding people. We want to feed people where they are and where their need is right now. And so I think he came up with this idea of the Kroger cards. And so I thought, then how do you make that work? I thought that what Tyler Perry had done with people going into the store and being surprised at one time, that was a good idea, but that only works once, you know? So how to do it in a way that's sustainable and that you reach the most amount of people was our big conversation for the past, we've been talking for a month about this, actually.
Okay. Shall I ask the second question?
If you don't mind, we'll maybe rotate around, and then if
Okay.
you have a question at the end, so we can loop back to you.
Okay.
So Travis with the AP Tennessee, if you'd like to go next, and I'll go to David Paulson.
Sure. Hi. Thanks for talking to us today. I was just wondering about if you could tell us a little bit about your connection to Nashville and your time here, maybe a fond memory of Nashville.
Oh, well, all my memories of Nashville are fun. I grew up there. I was a young girl there. I started my television career there. I started my radio career, WVOL in Nashville. I don't know if does that still even exist, y'all, WVOL?
Oh, yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So I got hired there when I was 16 years old. You know, the old story of me I was the first Miss Black, I was the first Miss Fire Prevention that was African-American. Up until the year that I won, you had to have red hair to win, but I wowed them so with my answer that they had to give me the title. So when I went back to WVOL to pick up my prize, which was a Longines watch and a digital flip clock radio, I got hired at WVOL radio at 16 years old. So my fondest memories are of going to East High School, where I was state champion in speaking for 2 years. I won the national forensic competition. All my years at East High, all my years, you know, at VOL and building my career there. And of course, Tennessee State. You know, Tennessee State was the grounding for me because I had a professor literally named W. Deary Cox, and I was in my sophomore class at W. Deary Cox in scenic design. And Dr. Cox used to say to me, you can't draw a straight line with a ruler. I don't know how you're going to end up in any design. And I got the call in Dr. Cox's class. They called me in, how they found me in the speech and drama department at Tennessee State University. I got called out of Dr. Cox's class to go to the office of of Dr. Jamie Williams. And I took remember Dr. Jamie Williams?
Of course. She's my mentor.
Okay, so I got called to Dr. Jamie Williams' office by Chris Clark, who is on Channel 5's, at the time it was called WLAC TV, it wasn't WTVF. I got called out of my class to go and speak to Chris Clark, who said, I understand that you're in radio, would you like a job in television? And I made up a story about, yes, of course, I'm a writer and I do this. So my first job day reporting, I didn't know what the hell I was doing, but Lots of fond memories. So don't ask me that question again. I could go on for hours on that.
Thank you.
Okay, great. David, we'll go to you next, and then
Sure.
Kelly.
Great, thank you. Thank you, Oprah, Bishop Walker, Dr. Glover. Thank you so much for having me. You answered so well a question I had about these conversations about deciding where to put this money in the community. So past that, I was curious about one other thing. I saw a great archive video today from your show in the 90s where you came back to Nashville and you visited some old sites, including what I think was your first job before broadcasting, which was at the store your father co-owned and selling penny candy and that sort of thing. It's just sort of a nice full circle moment in terms of providing food for people now in the Nashville community.
I have no fond memories, David, of selling penny candy.
Okay.
Because what I could not believe is that, you know, my father used to have that big jar at the front of the store where you'd sell cookies for a penny. And it made no sense to me that you got to sell 100 cookies, 100 damn cookies to make $1. It made no sense to me. Like, you could be here all day and you only made $1. So I have to say that not long ago, I was saying to my dad, you know, you got me working all that time and you never paid me anything. I never wasn't getting paid. He goes, you've made up for it, so it's okay. What I'm curious about, and you know, I haven't really spoken to Dr. Clover or the bishop is in the past week. So I wasn't a part of the actual handout. I was, you know, for many days we were trying to decide, do we announce it ahead of time? If we announce it ahead of time that we're giving it out, I wanted to be able to give out the cards on Mother's Day, but I was afraid that if we announced that we'd already given out 5,000 cards to 5,000 families. If we announce it that we have 5,000 more, that you're going to get 15,000 or 50,000, then you're going to have more people upset that they didn't get it. So I'm just curious from the bishop and from Dr. Glover, what actually, how did the announcement take place and what happened?
Well, Oprah, thank you so much for your heart for Nashville. Nashville truly was in a place where it needed some hope, and you provided that. And it became very clear to us when persons received the cards that they were overjoyed. We were inundated with emails. People were already posting on social media statements about gratitude. Some folks who were single mothers, I'm sure Dr. Glover can speak to the data, but it was interesting because you know, you really didn't understand, we didn't at least, the depth of the need. We had a sense of it, but in terms of the human stories and the gratitude that came from that, a lot of folks were just, this was the thing that really gave them hope and really inspired other people in the community to come alongside and do what you have done.
Well, okay, so Dr. Glover, I want to hear from you.
So I want to start by thanking you, Ms. Winfrey. This is a great moment for the city of Nashville and the 10,000 families who have benefited from Ms. Winfrey's generous donation. And it's a great moment for Tennessee State University also. And we're grateful and happy and honored to assist in this monumental humanitarian effort. Ms. Winfrey, before I say anything else, we want to thank you publicly for remembering your hometown, your home city, and your university. Now, having said that, we had so many partners who were willing to work with us. We had MDHA, the Housing Authority. We had the Chamber of Commerce, the Black Chamber of Commerce, the Black contractors, in addition to the Black churches, the Convention and Business Bureaus. And that's the heart, the bread and butter. They're the restaurant workers, they're the hotel workers, they serve us. And so this supports the Nashville tourism. And so when the word started getting out, these tourists, the workers, those in the tourism industry, I mean, they were extremely excited. And it's just word of mouth, it's just stop doing it. And so the Housing Authority, those who helped us in the churches, Bishop worked with the churches, I work with the churches. And so the word just started getting out. And we reached that 10,000 goal, and everybody's so excited. They're calling us, like Bishop said, they're thanking us. Yeah. I've been feeling calls all yesterday and today, emails, text messages, and phone calls, just thanking us. And tell Ms. Winfrey, thank you. When are you going to talk to me again? Tell her, says, thank you. I didn't know what I was going to do. I have 6 children. We're out of school. They would ordinarily be in school having free food, free lunches. But now they're at home, they eat and they snack all day. So this $200 came in handy. It's that kind of reaction that is so exciting to us and make us so honored to be a part of this effort. So we truly appreciate this.
Well, I thank you all for sharing that, because, you know, in all those years we were doing favorite things on the Oprah show, and everybody always wanted that ticket to the favorite things show. What I learned from that experience is that the gift was one thing, but the fact that you could get the gift was even bigger. So speaks to what you were saying, Bishop, about when somebody just says, hey, here's $200 for you. The $200, though it's needed, fills that need, but the fact that that happened to you gives you a sense of hope that something good can also happen again to you. So I think it's instilling the hope and letting people know that you were thought of. That's what I was trying to do in this moment. And often I believe in the adage that, you know, you spend your money and your charitable philanthropy work is to raise people up and to teach them how to fish for themselves. But during this pandemic, what I recognize is sometimes people just need a piece of fish.
Yeah.
They just need some fish with some bread and a nice fish sandwich. So to be able to offer that to people in this moment. And I think one of the things that we've been talking about with Nashville Nurtures is how do you sustain this in a way to help people be able to sustain themselves in the long term. So, you know, we continue to have those conversations about, but I thought what the bishop and all the pastors were in agreement that the immediate need is getting food into the homes of families.
Thank you. And Kelly, do you want to jump in next?
Absolutely. Bishop Walker, Dr. Glover, and Ms. Winfrey, thank you so much for doing this today. This donation feels even more special, I think, because you're doing it in partnership with an HBCU. And one thing that we learned immediately is that COVID-19 was affecting communities of color disproportionately. At what point did you realize that, Ms. Winfrey, and at what point did you decide that you specifically wanted to make this partnership with an HBCU that, of course, is your alma mater as well?
Well, I even before it became a news story, Kelly, I thought it would be a news story because I don't know anybody who's African American who doesn't have diabetes and high blood pressure in their family. I mean, you'd be an anomaly if you're in a family and nobody in your family has it. And so my mother was an insulin shooting diabetic her entire life. So she passed in 2018, and I was thinking, oh, if my mother were alive, I would even be more concerned about her and the people that are coming in and out of her house. I started thinking about my father and his high blood pressure. I was thinking about myself and my pre-existing condition of having pneumonia in the fall and still having, you know, respiratory bronchial stuff because of that. And I just think in my immediate family, the pre-existing condition of some disease was so prominent. Then in the greater African-American community and family, there's no way that it would not be. And as I said recently in a graduation speech, you know, poverty itself, inequality is in itself is a pre-existing condition. And one of the things that I think is the benefit of COVID is illuminating how those inequities have shown up in a way that even the blind, those who choose to be blind, cannot deny and not see the grave inequities that have been shown to us because of this pandemic. So I wanted to be able to touch that in a way that allowed people to know that, number one, I see you, because that's first and foremost. People want to be seen and they want to know that they matter. So part of this offering, and I see it as, even when I wrote checks to my family, I would put in the little line, the memo, COVID offering. I see this as my offering. I see this as a part of my tithe, my personal spiritual tithing from the inside out. And serving where I've come from. I think that's the first thing you do, is you take care of home first, you take care of your own personal communities. The world is too large, you know, and one of the things reasons why I'm talking about it, because normally I do things, I never talk about it, nobody knows I've done anything. But the reason I'm talking about it is because I think for those of us who are means, and they're all different levels of means, this time has shown itself to us so that we can look inside of ourselves and ask ourselves the question, what is the essential work? What is the essential service I need to offer my community? So when I ask that of myself, not just in the graduation speech to kids, I say, okay, how can I better use who I am and what I have to serve in a way that I have not in the past? Because normally it's like building big stuff and starting with large sums of money to create something that's going to be sustainable long term. But I thought for this immediate need right now, people need food on the table. So how do we do that?
Yeah. And if you just allow me to follow up on that one, Ms. Winfrey's contribution was a start of something big with Nashville Nurtures, and TSU, Tennessee State, has started a COVID-19 academy to assist to take this further now. Now that we got this start, where do we go from here? We've set up a resource bank. We know that people's lives will change forever, and even after they find a vaccine for this virus, and people still will need help and resources. So that's what this COVID-19 Academy is about. Phase 2, to take this further, to memorialize what has happened. She's fed 10,000 families. Now, here's an academy that's going to show you how to get resources, go to other places, get jobs, learn new apps with Apple, learn where the resources come from. So we want to keep it going for sustainability.
Oh, that's great. Is that something that's exclusive for the students at TSU, Dr. Glover?
Oh, it's the community. It's
wow.
the community. It's open to the entire community.
Okay. Oh, very nice.
It's a COVID-19 Academy.
Okay. Thank you for sharing that. I appreciate that.
Great. Thank you. Jana, we'll go to you, and then Natasha.
Thank you, Bishop Walker, Dr. Glover, and Ms. Winfrey for speaking with us today. Mrs. Winfrey, thank you for seemingly giving women with seemingly hard to pronounce names visibility, especially in the journalism realm. I know Kroger has been committed for years to supplying those from low-income communities with essential products in order to survive and get by. They've done their Zero Hunger, Zero Waste initiative that aims to eliminate hunger in food insecure areas, and you've worked with them and given a beautiful donation to Feeding America. So my question is, what are some of the values that Kroger possesses that makes them a company you enjoy working with and looked forward to working with for this particular cause?
Well, I'll have to give that to the bishop, because the bishop is the one that told me that Kroger was the main store in the communities where Black and brown people lived, and that we should use Kroger. So Bishop, can you help?
Yes, yeah, thank you. So, obviously there are food deserts, that's food insecurity in Nashville. And as we know in our communities, a lot of folks have to travel a good ways just to get healthy food options. Kroger in North Nashville there on Monroe Street, and if you look at their locations throughout our communities, it spoke to their commitment to really servicing folks in our particular community. So for us, it was just a no-brainer as a grocer who has a history of helping, and we just felt that we made this recommendation. Oprah didn't make it; we made it to her, and she understood we were on the ground, and we certainly appreciate that. It could have been any particular grocery store, but Kroger's in Nashville specifically is in the communities that we wanted to reach.
Well, and may I just say, that's also the reason why I went to the ministers and Tennessee State, because I'm not there. I wanted to find people who are on the ground, who are already doing the work in the community, so that they could advise me. That's why this was such a wonderful cooperative effort, because I didn't know, and admitted, from the beginning, I don't know. Can you help me help other people, and how do I best do that? So I think whoever's writing these stories, for people who say, I don't know who to help, I don't know how to help, I don't know what to do, I understand that, because you're just like, who do I trust that's going to do what I really want to do? So my friends who know that I'm in the business of trying to help other people, they all call me and say, who are you giving to? How do I help? How can you tell me how can I direct my funds? I think it is important. What we have done here is established going to the community specifically, and nothing's more important than, you know, HBCUs and the African American church, the Black church, and being able to say, can you all help me help other people? So that's what I loved about this cooperative, is that we were able to work together, multiple conversations.
And Kroger just gave cars to TSU students. There's a partnership there that has already existed. They gave food cards to TSU students who couldn't go home during this pandemic. They partnered with various campuses, and TSU was one of them.
Great, thank you, Jana. Natasha, we'll go to you, and then Brandy.
Unmute yourself, Natasha.
There we go.
Okay.
So thank you so much for having us, Ms. Winfrey, Dr. Glover, and Bishop Walker. This is a phenomenal gift. I work for the GRIO, and our audience was just completely blown away, commenting by what you have done here. Ms. Winfrey, I wanted to ask, you mentioned this single garment of destiny that we're all connected by in your commencement speech. And there was a sense that once people saw the African American community was being disproportionately affected by COVID, there were some folks that checked out, who did not see that single garment, who were just ready to get back to work, and who stopped social distancing. So this is a philosophical question, but how do you think we get people to care about that global human family that you talked about, even if they think that, you know, they're less likely to be impacted by this?
You know, I think that is such a beautiful question. And if I had 20 minutes, I could maybe address it. You know, this sounds like a wonderful Super Soul Sunday question to ponder here.
You should do an episode.
Yeah, this is good. This is good. How do you get people to care? You have to show themselves to them. People have to see themselves in the faces of the people who are of need. You know, I remember years ago, doing something called Christmas Kindness in South Africa. And one of my producers had come to me with this video saying, oh my God, we just found this little kid who was eating out of a trough, the same trough as a pig. And I said, well, we will not be putting that on the air, because what that does is it dehumanizes that child, and it makes you think of that child as the other. And so I shall never forget, I went to one of the first orphanages over there, and we filmed these children having a birthday party, and me giving them their presents all at once. And the count of 3, everybody opens their presents. And these kids in this orphanage are like, you can feel the joy. You can feel that joy is a palpable thing. And I shall never forget, in 2002, receiving a call from a woman in Alabama, y'all, who says, well, you know, I never realized that they felt the same way at their birthdays as my children do. And it struck me that that is the reason why I didn't put the picture of the child eating out of the trough. Because when you get to see that other children are just like your children, they cry and laugh and have joys and birthdays and love surprises just like your children. When you get to see yourself in the faces of your children and the faces of other children, that is how you get people to care. What frightens me, y'all, deeply frightens me, is that we all had a timeout, got sent to our rooms with enough reflective time to look at the bigger picture of what this moment means. And I think a lot of people went to their rooms and they were playing and they didn't get it. And so what really frightens me is that you're gonna have to get another lesson and another timeout before you can see it. That is gonna have to hit your family, your neighbors, your community before you can see it. So I am not, you know, I don't spend a lot of energy worried about how do I get other people to do. I just focus on, okay, what can I do? And I think the message for this story for me is asking other people, okay, this is what I could do. This is my tithe for right now. What is yours?
Thank you so much.
Thank you. I could just
good question. Yeah, Bishop.
Yeah, if I can just piggyback, you know, with Dr. Glover and I working very closely with Oprah, and we've, you know, she's clearly an extraordinary philanthropist and has a heart for so many different causes. the one singular thing that I will take away from that question about Ms. Winfrey is empathy. The fact that she has empathy. I think that's what I see guides her causes and guides her heart for giving to folks, because she feels it. And when you understand the story and the passion that comes from that, she hasn't forgotten where she's come from, and she understands. She sees herself in those spaces. And empathy, I think, is what is really exciting to me, because that's what got us really excited to work with this project. And it just moved us to this place. So.
Well, thank you. Empathy. I'll take
that. So Brandy, we'll go to you, and then Dylan.
Okay. Thank you so much, Ms. Winfrey, for being with us today, and Bishop Walker and Dr. Glover. So much of the conversation around coronavirus and the pandemic has centered on the fact that life will never be the same as it was before. And, you know, in some ways, it's not necessarily such a bad thing. So I'm curious what your hopes are for what life looks like on the other side of the pandemic, and how you stay hopeful.
I think that one of the greatest things it showed us is how we are all connected and how we are one, because look who turns out to be essential in this whole thing. And people who literally could have had their own books written on being the invisible man, invisible woman, invisible workers, because people just didn't see you. And one of the things that 25 years of the Oprah show taught me is that the greatest gift you can give to anybody is to see them, to hear them, and to recognize that they matter. That's what everybody is looking for. So what I am hoping is that no one looks at a grocery cashier the same, that nobody looks at the guy who's stocking the groceries the same, that nobody looks at the food that has come to their table and the truck driver that had to get it to the grocery store the same. What I'm hoping is that there will be some lasting memory of the connection that we all share as human beings who are essential to the life of one another. That's what I'm hoping. And all I can do is make sure that happens in my own family and in my own, you know, immediate circle. That's what we talk about at our table. And however I'm able to use my voice and my platform to say that as often as I can, to get people to continue to see the value of others. And I know that people are going to forget because they want to forget. They want to. People just want to get back, and they want it to be the way it was. And I think that there's going to be an even greater price to pay for that. Because y'all got the time out. We got the time out.
Right.
We got the time out.
Yeah.
Yes, Dylan, you're up.
Thank you so much for taking questions. And kind of piggybacking off that, Nashville Nurtures is providing immediate food relief to thousands of Nashville families. But as Dr. Glover said, it's really just the beginning of the program. Mm-hmm. So what message would you want to share with those who are able to contribute to the organization and ensure that resources keep flowing to Nashville residents?
Well, my message would be to connect with Nashville Nurtures, Dr. Glover, the bishop, and see how you can be of service. Do the same thing that I did. Just how can I be of service? And however that shows itself, it shows itself differently for every individual. That's what you do. You know, I believe that is one of the most important questions that anybody can ask. Even those of you who are journalists on this phone call, to use your journalism just for making a living and writing stories, that serves one purpose. But the greater question is, how do you use your work and your words in a way that uplifts and changes the consciousness as a force for enlightenment for the people that you're trying to serve? So that it goes beyond journalism. It now creates a depth of power and spirituality and connection to the world that comes back to you and serves you if there is a deeper purpose in the writing. So you can just write for writing, just like for years when I first started out in Nashville, I was just happy to be on TV, happy to have a job. But when you turn that job, switch the paradigm from, oh, this isn't just a job, how do I use my words and my work as a greater service to the community that I'm trying to reach. And that's the community that is your own community, and it's the world community at large. So I have found that question, that quote that Dr. King says, that not everybody can be famous, but everybody can be great, because greatness is determined by service. I find that to be my most powerful quote, because whatever your job is, if you switch the paradigm to how do I use this in service? So it's not just a paycheck, it's a service.
Great, thank you so much.
Thank you all so much for joining us today. Really appreciate the time and the intention that you are helping to support this community and all the work that we're doing. So
Nashville Nurtures.
Yeah, Nashville Nurtures. If you need anything else, you know how to reach me. Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Okay, and then Dr. Glover and Bishop Walker, if you'll stay on and everyone else can close out your Zoom, and have a great rest of your evening.
Thank you, Chelsea.
Thank you.
Bye. Can I ask a question to Dr. Glover?
Yes.
Dr. Glover, thanks. Hey, do you mind just telling me what it felt like to get this call from Oprah? I understand now we're at TSU at the same time, but it sounds like you weren't. You didn't know each other.
Oh gosh, I was honored and I was thrilled, and I was even more touched by her concern for her hometown, for those who needed the help the most, who have been laid off. We ran stats, the single families, the single parents, those who were about to lose their home. They was caring for people who had COVID-19. So she wanted to help that population. I was so touched by that. And so just her concern, and I was honored, because it's not every day you get a call from Oprah.
All right. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Actually, Chelsea, I was gonna ask, could I ask Dr. Glover a question too? Is that okay?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Dr. Glover, what does a donation, not only from an alum and not only of this magnitude, but from someone like Oprah Winfrey, what does it mean for historically Black colleges and universities, especially at a time when we may not all be thinking about the needs of HBCUs and the communities that they support? What does that mean for this university?
Well, it speaks volumes that, an alum of the stature of Ms. Winfrey would consider her hometown and just involve her university. I mean, that speaks volumes. It shows that the HBCUs are out there leading the way, and we're making it clear that we're of substance, and that we're here and we're doing a job, because that needs to be done. Because I often, as a college president, I see it from every angle, and I often get asked the question,